What if you took NAC for 30 days? Imagine giving your cells a tiny, inside-the-house tool that helps put out the microfires that flare up every time mitochondria burn fuel, every time your liver processes a chemical, every time stress nudges your nervous system into high alert. Over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through what NAC is, how it works inside your cells, what realistic changes people often see within a month, and why dose and individual biology matter. If you like deep dive, evidence-informed health breakdowns, subscribe and stick around. This one answers the exact question in the title. Most people try to fix oxidation with generic detoxes, but today we're talking about the precursor to your body's master antioxidant. This is the 30-day biological reset of NAC. NAC stands for N-acetylcysteine. It's basically a protected form of the amino acid cysteine. Think of cysteine as a fragile package. On its own, it's sensitive and can fall apart or bind onto other things before it gets where it needs to go. NAC wraps that package in a protective coat so the cargo arrives intact. Once it's inside the body, that coat is peeled off and the cysteine gets used to build glutathione, the key intracellular antioxidant. A quick chemistry note in plain language. Cysteine has a sulfhydryl group, which is what gives it that characteristic rotten egg sulfur smell when it's present. NAC can carry that same smell. That smell isn't glamorous, but it's a kind of authenticity marker. Active NAC often smells sulfurous. If a product has no smell at all, it might be old or oxidized, which can reduce its effectiveness. Use that detail as a cue, not a diagnostic test. Smell can be one sign among many that a supplement is still doing what it's supposed to do. Why does glutathione matter so much? Picture your cell as a workshop with hundreds of tiny furnaces, the mitochondria. Those furnaces produce energy but also throw off sparks and smoke, reactive oxygen species. If those sparks aren't managed, machinery rusts, enzymes misfire, and cellular signaling goes off kilter. Glutathione is the workshop's internal fire extinguisher. It neutralizes those reactive species where they're produced, inside the cell. That's the crucial distinction. Many dietary antioxidants act outside the cell or in the bloodstream. Glutathione works precisely where the damage is most likely to start. NAC helps your cells make more glutathione by supplying cysteine, often the limiting ingredient in glutathione synthesis. It's also used clinically in two very visible ways that help explain how potent it can be. First, it's a mucolytic. In respiratory care, NAC breaks disulfide bonds in thick mucus, making secretions easier to clear. Second, and most dramatically, high-dose IV NAC is the standard antidote for acetaminophen, Tylenol, overdose. In that context, rapid delivery of NAC restores depleted glutathione stores and can be life-saving. Those hospital uses build credibility. NAC can act quickly and powerfully when given in the right dose and route. But it's vital to underline the difference. The IV, high-dose regimens used in emergency medicine are not the same as taking a low to moderate oral capsule every day. They're separate tools in separate contexts. So what about dosing? There are two practical frameworks to understand: short-term therapeutic use and long-term maintenance. In many discussions and in clinical practice examples, 600 milliliters is often used as a short-term therapeutic oral dose, a practical example when you're targeting a specific issue. For long-term maintenance, many clinicians and sources suggest a far lower daily amount, on the order of about 100 milligrams, to support baseline glutathione production without overwhelming the body's own regulatory systems. I'm quoting those numbers as they've been presented in clinical and practitioner conversations. They're not universal prescriptions, and you should check with a clinician before starting a regimen tailored to your needs. Why would someone choose a lower maintenance dose instead of a larger one? It comes back to balance. Your body maintains a redox equilibrium, a healthy ratio of oxidized to reduced molecules, that allows cellular signaling, immune response, and metabolic adaptation to occur. Flooding the system with high doses of antioxidants over long periods can blunt those adaptive responses. In simple terms, you don't want to mute the very stress signals that help your body get stronger and adapt. It's a classic hormesis issue. A small amount of stress prompts resilience. Too much suppression can be counterproductive. Using NAC sensibly, at doses that support physiology rather than override it, is the more sustainable approach for ongoing use. There's another layer that often gets overlooked: methylation. Methylation is the biochemical process of transferring methyl groups, CH3 units, to various targets. It's central to DNA expression, neurotransmitter metabolism, and the recycling of certain sulfur amino acids. Methylation and glutathione metabolism are linked through the broader 1-carbon and sulfur amino acid pathways. Here's how to think about it without getting lost in the weeds. Your body needs to handle homocysteine properly, either by remethylating it back to methionine, a process that relies on methylation capacity, or by routing it through the transsulfuration pathway to make cysteine and, ultimately, glutathione. If methylation is inefficient, more pressure falls on other pathways and nutrients to keep the system balanced. Enter the MTHFR gene. Variants in MTHFR are common. Many people carry alleles that modestly reduce the efficiency of one step in the methylation cycle. This doesn't mean everyone with a variant is unwell, but it can mean they have a lower baseline methylation capacity and may benefit from targeted support. For folks with reduced methylation efficiency, simply giving NAC might help by supplying cysteine directly, but it may not fully address upstream methylation bottlenecks. That's why some people combine NAC with methylation cofactors, B vitamins in active forms, folate derivatives, and other nutrients to support the whole system. The key message: NAC can be part of a broader, personalized strategy. It's seldom a perfect one-size-fits-all fix. Okay, so what are the kinds of effects you might notice if you took NAC consistently for 30 days, assuming the dose is appropriate and you tolerate it well? First, many people report improvements in aspects of liver detoxification. Glutathione is central to phase 2 detox reactions, where the body conjugates and neutralizes metabolites that would otherwise be harmful. With better cysteine availability, glutathione production often becomes more robust, which can translate to improved handling of environmental toxins and metabolic byproducts. Clinically measurable changes may take longer, but within a month people often note subtle differences in energy and recovery after exposure to stressors. Second, oxidative stress markers tend to decrease. That's the biochemical outcome we'd predict. More intracellular glutathione means more capacity to neutralize reactive oxygen species. Practically, this can feel like less brain fog for some, quieter inflammation signals, and a general sense of cellular steadiness. Again, this is probabilistic rather than guaranteed. Individual responses vary. Third, mitochondrial function and stress tolerance can improve. Mitochondria are both producers and victims of oxidative stress. When glutathione availability improves, mitochondria operate with less oxidative damage and often more efficiency. Some people notice better endurance on workouts, faster recovery, or steadier energy through the day after a few weeks of support. Fourth, there's an impact on neurotransmitter metabolism and stress response that people sometimes describe as calmer or better sleep. Methylation contributes to the regulation of neurotransmitter synthesis and breakdown. Improving the balance of sulfur amino acids and glutathione can indirectly smooth nervous system reactivity. Many users report modest improvements in sleep quality and less nighttime sympathetic activation after several weeks. Label those reports as anecdotal and mechanistically plausible rather than promised. Fifth, on the respiratory and mucolytic side, NAC can thin mucus and help clear secretions. Over a month, especially for people dealing with chronic, thick mucus or mild bronchitic symptoms, you might see looser mucus and easier expectoration. For acute severe respiratory disease, the clinical context and dosing differ, but for chronic mucus issues, oral NAC's mucolytic properties can be meaningful. Sixth, barrier integrity, in the gut and on the skin, sometimes improves. Glutathione supports cellular repair and immune regulation. For some people, that shows up as calmer skin, fewer flares of irritation, and reduced gut sensitivity. Again, these are commonly reported effects and make biological sense, but they're not guaranteed outcomes. Seventh, many users report improved tolerance to other supplements or reduced sensitivity. Things that previously caused mild adverse reactions seem to be tolerated better after supporting detox pathways with NAC. That's an anecdotal pattern seen frequently in clinical practices. Throughout this list, remember to frame expectations realistically. Within 30 days, many people notice subtle to moderate changes: improved sleep, steadier energy, looser mucus, calmer skin. But dramatic cures or overnight transformations are uncommon. Individual genetics, diet, sleep, stress levels, and concurrent medications all influence outcomes. Who should be cautious? A few groups. People with known methylation sensitivity may react to powerful methylation support and should approach combined regimens slowly and under supervision. Pregnant or breastfeeding people should consult their clinician before using NAC regularly. If you're on medications, especially those affecting the liver or blood pressure, check with your provider because metabolic interactions are possible. And if you have chronic health conditions, immune disorders, or are undergoing cancer treatment, coordinate with your medical team before adding NAC as a supplement. Finally, watch for side effects like stomach upset, nausea, or headaches. These are usually mild but serve as signals to reduce dose and reassess. One practical detail. If you're comparing doses, keep in mind that many clinical or therapeutic situations use 600 mg doses as a practical short-term oral strategy. Some practitioners then suggest a much lower maintenance dose, about 100 mg daily, for long-term support. Those numbers come from clinical conversations and practitioner protocols. They're useful guideposts but not rigid prescriptions. Don't self-prescribe higher acute doses to treat serious conditions. Emergency care protocols involve IV NAC under medical supervision for a reason. Before I talk briefly about product options, one more biochemical clarity. NAC supplies cysteine. Cysteine is used to make glutathione. Glutathione itself is often recycled within cells by enzymes that use reducing power, like NADPH, rather than methylation directly. Methylation supports upstream balance by influencing how homocysteine and methionine are processed, and by ensuring SAM-dependent reactions have the methyl groups they need. So methylation isn't a redundant detail. It's part of the wider landscape that determines whether providing extra cysteine turns into sustainable glutathione production or just temporary flux. For many people, addressing methylation capacity improves the efficiency of glutathione pathways over time. So how should you approach a 30-day trial if you're interested? Start with an informed conversation with your clinician. Share why you want to try NAC and what outcomes you hope to see. If you and your clinician agree it's reasonable, consider starting at a conservative dose and monitoring for tolerance. Track practical markers: sleep quality, daytime energy, mucus consistency, skin reactivity, and any digestive changes. Keep in mind that some benefits may take several weeks to consolidate. If you have known methylation issues or suspect you do, a family history of MTHFR variants, unexplained fatigue, or certain mood or metabolic patterns, discuss whether adding methylation cofactors or choosing a combined formula makes sense. A note on quality: NAC can oxidize over time, and when it does, its smell and potency can change. Choose products from reputable manufacturers, check expiration dates, and consider formulations that protect the molecule from premature oxidation. If you're using a combined product that includes hydrochloric acid or digestive support that's intended to improve absorption, whether that matters for you depends on your digestive health. Let's close with a balanced recap. NAC is a stable, transportable source of cysteine that helps cells make glutathione, your primary intracellular antioxidant. Clinical uses range from mucolysis to life-saving IV therapy in acetaminophen overdose, illustrating NAC's biochemical potency. For routine supplementation, there's a difference between short-term therapeutic strategies. Examples often cite around 600 mg, and lower-dose long-term maintenance. Examples cite about 100 mg. And that distinction matters because of redox balance and the risk of blunting adaptive stress responses if you oversupplement. Methylation and common MTHFR variants influence how sulfur amino acids and glutathione are processed, so some people will benefit from methylation cofactors alongside NAC. In 30 days, many people notice improved detox capacity, reduced oxidative stress, steadier mitochondrial function, better sleep stress control, mucolytic benefits, and improved barrier function, but responses vary, and nothing is guaranteed. For many people, addressing methylation capacity improves the efficiency of glutathione pathways over time. So, how should you approach a 30-day trial if you're interested? Start with an informed conversation with your clinician. Share why you want to try NAC and what outcomes you hope to see. If you and your clinician agree it's reasonable, consider starting at a conservative dose and monitoring for tolerance. Track practical markers: sleep quality, daytime energy, mucus consistency, skin reactivity, and any digestive changes. Keep in mind that some benefits may take several weeks to consolidate. A note on quality: NAC can oxidize over time, and quando isso acontece, seu cheiro e potência podem mudar. Escolha produtos de fabricantes confiáveis. O NAC ativo geralmente tem aquele cheiro característico de enxofre. Use isso como um sinal de autenticidade. To recap, NAC is a stable source of cysteine that helps cells make glutathione, your primary intracellular antioxidant. In 30 days, many people notice improved detox capacity, reduced oxidative stress, steadier mitochondrial function, better sleep, and improved barrier function. But responses vary and nothing is guaranteed. If you're looking for a deeper understanding of how your body truly heals at a cellular level, you're in the right place. Subscribe to join our community of evidence-based health. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were to start this 30-day journey, what is the #1 health change you'd hope to see? Leave a comment below. And as always, before starting any new supplement, make sure to talk with your healthcare provider.